Welcome. This is Tamil Deep's ILC, bringing you another episode. In this episode, I wanted to focus on who is Tamil Deep's ILC and what is the meaning behind it. What does the name mean? Also, I want to understand who my listeners are, and also, as a listener, who are you? Um, Also, I wanted to take the time to explain what is Endless Purgatory and what is the meaning behind it, and the meaning behind the cover art and the layers of depth that goes behind it. As always, I want to say I appreciate every bit of my listeners. I try not to take the time to look at the numbers, but it is very encouraging to see that people actually take the time to listen, and I definitely appreciate it. But with that being said, welcome to Endless Purgatory. Thoughts are endless, but life isn't. If you don't do something, what's stopping you now but excuses? Think about it. Endless Purgatory. Who is Tamil Deep's IOC? Tamil Deep's IOC is pretty much a version of what you know, um, the person that I am communicating to you. Like, like most people, I think heavy, um, and it's always at a extreme level of depth. And like most people that think heavy, I come with a lot of layers. And most of the time, depending on the person, depends on which layer is peeled back. And for the people that really know me, are the ones that really, expose the core of who I really am as a person beyond what you know or the person that I give you. Like I said, Tamil Deeps is that layer. Tamil Deeps is pretty much speed limit spelled backwards. Because like life, I feel like it's ever changing, like the speed limit. But in reverse, the speed isn't seen and you can control the pace. The IOC is in living color, simply said. Because I have a colorful mind, I don't like to think in black and white. Everything has to have, a rhyme or reason. Well, not everything, most things that go through my mind. To me, it's in black and white. I mean, it's not in black and white. And gray only causes confusion. While I made the podcast, for me, it was just for venting and releasing my thoughts. But also, thought releasing my thoughts would pique interest in a like mindset or a wandering ear. I think besides me, most people come with layers anyway. I mean, you're not gonna show your hand. I mean, most people don't always show their hand of who they are before, just anybody. A lot of times it takes a person to feel comfortable to want to show the version of who they are or who they want to be around certain people. It doesn't necessarily make them fake or anything like that. Like some people may want to make it seem like, but it just may feel like some people do or don't feel comfortable around certain people. And so you get one version of who they are. Not saying that I don't feel comfortable to share my whole personal to everybody on my podcast, but I mean for the most part you get that anyway because of the thoughts that I go through. So you get a glimpse of who I am based off of the topics that I give you and what my opinions are based on those thoughts. Because like I said, my mind's always going, it's always thinking, and I like to get them out. I mean, I got so much on my mind enough as it is that sometimes I just got to find a way to get it out. And through this, I felt that was the best way. I mean, it's made me, it worked for me, it works for me because I don't stress as much as I used to. I don't get so irritated about things that I usually get irritated about. And it just makes me a better person overall. And I actually enjoy it. I really enjoy just, you know, the thought of getting into my workspace and setting up my mic and setting up the laptop and everything and just speaking. Um, how freeing it sounds, how freeing it feels to just release. But that's just like I said, that's one angle of who I am. And I guess as I go and each topic that I put in each episode, you'll get a glimpse of who I am as a person. And maybe that's interesting to you, and maybe that's interesting to whoever the listener is, and maybe that can also find somebody that maybe thinks the same way I do, or thinks kind of the way that I do, and say like, you know what, I was thinking the same thing, I just didn't say it. People are like that sometimes, you know, but it just takes speaking to really find out, who each person is, and through speaking is pretty much how I give you a chance to understand who I am and who is Tamil Deeps and what I go through sometimes when I come up with the topics. A lot of my topics sometimes are, I won't necessarily say emotional based, but they're more based off of, you know, when I look through things, when I look at other people, or something that I may deal with in life, or something that I may have dealt with in life, and I think of how I could put that topic into one word, and I just pretty much go from there. And that's usually how I kind of form ideas. The thoughts are usually just running through my mind all day, every day, anyway. And so I felt like, why not just take those thoughts and just put it into one particular area? I never thought podcasting would be it, but once I started rolling, I was like, you know what, I really like this. I think I'm gonna keep doing it. So I did, and I'm gonna keep doing it. Um, regardless of whatever. As much as I do appreciate people that do take the time to listen and stuff like that. I'm gonna do it regardless. Like even if it's just something for me to listen to or go back to. Um, I listen to my episodes myself, or I always try to find ways to say like maybe I could have did that a little bit differently, or what was I going through that day, or just whatever. Or another way I was thinking about it was like pretty much using it as like a capsule that, after, I'm no longer here, my voice will still live on. And, my kids can forever hear my voice. And even when they probably physically can't see me anymore, they can at least hear me and say that like, yeah, that's my dad. He did that. And that's stuff I think about all the time anyway. Uh, so, and loved ones also, family, anybody that wanted to take time just to hear me one more time. They got a way to listen to me all the time as long as the platform is still running. They can always hear me. But that's who I am. That's Timo Deeps ILC. But enough about me. I've told you who I am, but as a listener, who are you? Like, who really are you? Are you a version of yourself, or are you at your core? Are you at your core everywhere you go, or are you only uh, a particular layer of the version that you give everybody else? Are you the same as you always been, or are you different? And if so, why or why not? What kept you or the same, or what or who made you different? I understand that everybody goes through things in life, and sometimes the person that you were, or sometimes the person that you may have been, can vary or change depending on the person that you are now. Maybe you maybe you miss the person that you was before, or maybe you don't. Maybe look back and say like, man, what was I thinking about? Oh well. Or maybe you look forward and you think like, damn, I'm glad I did what I did before, or I'm glad I went through what I went through before because it made me a better person today. To me, understanding who you are first can make life and the people around you better and build a perspective of how your views are of things. And to me, I feel like that's very important because as I always I won't say preach, but as I always say, like I feel like a lot of people lack perspective. Like nobody wants to think about how something may affect somebody, or how somebody may be different, or somebody may think completely different. Like that, to me, perspective is probably the most important word. But also keep in mind that who you are, to never lose sight of that. Like never lose sight of yourself. You don't want to become a shell of a person that you once were, or you don't want to be so absorbed with what's going on with life that you forget who you are, who you were, or who you were going to be, and never forget that. And you don't want to be sitting back thinking like, damn, like I ain't, I'm not nowhere near, or better yet, somebody tell you that like, man, you don't do that no more, or I remember when you used to do this, and be like, damn, man, I did used to do that, huh? I ain't nowhere near the person I was before. And like I said, vary on the situation. That could be good for you. It could be bad for you, depending. I don't want to say bad, but it can make you think. I don't want to say bad. It'll make you think like, damn, that's yeah. Maybe I miss doing that, or maybe I would want to do that. And then maybe you go do it, but like, damn, I'm glad I don't do that no more. But even though still, it varies. But also at the same time, um, guarding who you are is not a bad thing either. Not everybody deserves your full being, and I definitely know that's true. Because sometimes just expressing yourself fully to one person may have them look at you like, what the fuck is their problem, or why are they like that? I'm not saying it should really matter, but at the same time, it's like, okay, for some people that do worry about stuff like that, they may feel like, damn, maybe I should have did that, or I shouldn't have, I should have been so myself, because some people do think that way. And this is only give perspective of people that have that thought process. And it's easy to say like, just be yourself, right? But not everybody takes who you are as a person the same way. And of course, it shouldn't matter. You should always be true to yourself. But not everybody has the mentality of like, if they can't take me for who I am, then it is what it is. Not everybody has that mentality, or not everybody has developed to have that mentality yet. So that's really the only thing I'm just trying to say between it that makes any kind of sense of what I just said. Okay, like for example, so it doesn't come out so contradicting, right? Okay, let's say for example, everybody's had a mother or father, right? Anybody listens had a mother or father, right? Right. Okay. It took two people and you're here, right? Regardless of whether you speak to them or not. All right. But at the same time, or grandparents, whoever raised you, you um you looked at them a certain way, or they looked at you a certain way, right? To get to the point. Okay. The point is, they probably never truly saw the version of who you really are today until you got out the house, right? So whoever truly values you, right, never got the full version of you until you got older, and they were like, I didn't raise them to do that, right? So that's just the point I'm trying to make. Not everybody, not everybody gets the full thing, and as far as who you are as a person. And like I said, it's okay to be yourself, but it's also understandable that you're around certain people, you don't want to truly, out who you are as a person. But also at the same time, you don't want to. You don't want to be so guarded so much to the point, you know, a wall is who you become, you know, to the point that you just are just there and you're just a brick wall, you don't let nobody in. And sure, maybe you've gone through stuff in life, you've gone through trauma, and you're like, man, I ain't telling nobody nothing. But then at the same time, you want people to be around you at the same time. You know, that doesn't make sense. So that's what I mean by it's pretty much finding a balance, right? Finding a balance of, you know, expressing who you are fully. Because I mean, for like I said, for some people, expressing themselves fully is the best way to be. And for some people, giving a layer or a version of a person is okay too. And they may only feel comfortable giving themselves fully to people that they feel really matter anyway. It's really all I'm saying. But balance yourself and your well-being, and you'll never lose focus of who you are. It's really all I'm saying. But also, I wanted to say too, um, as a listener, I thought I said all that. As a listener, I do want to understand who you are, and the feedback or the content that I give you, you know, I really want to understand like what do you take from it. And I know I say it probably almost every time in my episodes that, you know, the feedback is important. That's definitely appreciated because I want to understand that, okay, either what you take from it or what you didn't like, what you don't like I want it all. So just like let me know, like whether it be like on my socials or if you want to go to my website, you can send a voice message and say like, hey, I love the show, but I promise I won't take it away. I don't bite at all. I'm taking everything in and I'm like, okay, I'm writing it down. I'm like, okay, bet, you know, I'll see what I could do. Or, you know what, maybe I didn't look at it that way. Like I said, as much as I was saying about perspective earlier, I don't mind, you know, hearing a different perspective of maybe either something I did or maybe something I said. I'm like, okay, you know, that sounds good, or I never looked at it that way. I'm always open. But also, I need to get into the next topic. Before we get into the final topic, please take a moment to listen to this sponsored ad. Thank you. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Endless Purgatory. I really never get tired of saying that. But what is endless purgatory? Endless purgatory is your mind. And I feel like your mind can be like an infinite hallway of open and closed doors. And, you know, I feel like they're ever revolving, you know, like some doors stay closed. Some doors have been open before and you close them right back and you're like, I ain't go back in there no more. Or I don't want to ever see what's in there again. Because like I feel like behind certain doors, they can lead to different sections of your mind. And to me, I feel like the purgatory is this outside of your own being. Um, that even when you're physically gone, thoughts continue in others of you into a void that is probably tapped into when they choose to. And you know that's one of the reasons why I I really like once I got the name of the title, but once I got the name of the show, I was like, that's definitely it. That's definitely gotta work. Like it has so much more depth behind it of what purgatory is. Like to me, I feel like life ends, but thoughts are ever like they're always going. Like it doesn't matter; they continue to exist regardless of whether you're here or not. But then within the people around you, within people that you've never met before, like people that may have heard of you, those thoughts continue to roam into nothingness of endlessness. It just keeps going. The cover on my show, the eye, the eye on my channel represents first sight and the instant connection between the first sight and the mind and the thoughts that form from it immediately. Like, for example, whenever you first saw my album, not my album, my channel cover, like, what did you think about it? Like, when you first saw it, did you thought it was creepy? Did you thought it was weird, interesting, mysterious? Like, what? Like, whatever you felt from it, it was all intentional. I wanted you to feel every single bit of those. That's why I didn't even put the name of the show on it, because I just wanted it to be like something like when somebody see it, that it's like, what is that? Like, why is there just an eye? Like, why he got bags on his eyes? Like, why he looking like that? How old is he? Like to a point that it just asks you so many different questions that you're just like, man, what's this all about? It was definitely intentional. I wanted you to have completely different thoughts, completely different people with completely different thoughts. That's all I wanted, because that's just how I am. I love to think. I used to hate it, but now I love thinking because I understand that it's just a part of who I am. And so I try to bring in people that are like me in a way, that either think just as much as I do, or they, may have not have thought of certain things before, that they probably maybe had glimpses of thoughts before. Um, because I feel like, you know, thoughts have so much endless potential, and anything could come out of it. Some of the best things in life have come through thoughts, like random thoughts, like anything you could think of, anything that you do, or you just that you deal with throughout the day. Like think about, like, okay, somebody had been sitting down and thought about, like, hey, I think I want to do this, or I want to make ketchup, or I want to make barbecue sauce, or just something random. And next thing you know, multiple people are consuming it. Just like my content. I'm having random thoughts about random things, and people consume that content, and they take out what they want from it. Might either be good or bad, depending on their taste buds, right? The point being of endless purgatory is to cherish the thoughts and let them guide you. That even with what I'm saying to you, or even the thoughts that go throughout your mind, cherish every thought that you have, because at some point you won't have them no more. And to take those thoughts and to release them and spread them to others, which is exactly why every time I end my podcast, I say release, because I'm taking all of my thoughts and I'm taking the thoughts that you have with you, and we're taking it in, and then we're going to release them to others, which is exactly what we're doing. And that is endless purgatory. But with this episode, that's all I really wanted to do. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of who I am. And I find out who you are. Like I said, hopefully y'all provide some feedback. You know, say something. All them introverts out there, I know y'all say stuff when y'all want to, but don't be afraid to say something. Don't be afraid to speak or comment or provide something that says like, okay, I like this, oh, I don't like that, or this sounds like shit, or, you know, tell me why it sounds like shit, or tell me why you like it. It's appreciated, every bit of it. So I don't take nothing the wrong way. But as always, like I always say, the listens are appreciated. The feedback will be appreciated. And, granted you provide it, and it helps me work on more content. I mean, there's more content coming anyway, but regardless, still, it continues to give me more and more ideas, and it provides a level of critique that makes me improve on certain ways that maybe I never even thought of. But anyway, regardless, that being said, stay safe, stay sane, and secure in your mind. Release.